Hello everybody, welcome to the Football Daily Weekly. Good to see you. This week on the show we're going to be discussing the 5 things we learned from the weekend's footballing action with our very own Patrick.
How you doing?
It's lovely to see you once again.
Thanks very much. It's another intermittent display by me. But,
yes.
But it's great to be back.
Oh, a bit of self-belief can take you anywhere.
Oh, I'm very confident about it.
Absolutely. And Barnaby from Spurredon TV is back once again. Good to have you.
It's lovely to be back. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let's begin with Manchester City. They are back in business. What a win, Barnaby. 3-0 away to West Brom. A good start to the season.
Was a good start to the season. I think, last year everyone was like, oh, they're too old and they've become complacent and they're going to have to sign 6 or 7 new huge players. But Pellegrini has quite smartly said, no, let's give them another chance to shine. And I think Kompany is a great example of, with that celebration and how passionate he was. He was given some stick last year and he's obviously had a great pre-season, got himself really fit, and he's going to show everyone that he's still the man, isn't he?
Indeed. Patrick.
Yaya Toure as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
it was a couple of months.
2 goals.
A couple of months ago, he was for the Knackers Yard. He was going to Barcelona. I thought, they were sort of they were kind of written off. They were burnt out, but they feel like they got their old power back. So. Raheem Sterling, I thought the limelight was taken away from him somewhat. He got a pretty solid one-on-one chance that sort of went straight at the goalkeeper. Toure's...
He's never been the best finisher though, Raheem Sterling. Something that he would be working on. He's still a young player.
Well, they got. I think Silva outshined him as well on the pitch as well.
But that's not to be surprised. I mean, David Silva's one of the best players in the league.
He's a magician, isn't he?
He really is. I mean, well, like you say, Barnaby, people thought, are they a little bit long in the tooth, Manchester City? There was talk about that last season. But we're talking about players like David Silva, I mean, even Yaya Toure, yes, he is obviously a year on from last season. That's how time works. But if Fernandinho can play the way he can do, quite busy and so on, if Delph can come in there as well and do that, then they've still got a side, and they've still got a nucleus of a side which won the league not that long ago and finished second last season, lest we forget.
No, absolutely, and I do think it's proven from down the years that once a team wins the league, like Chelsea did last year, it's quite happens quite a lot that they get a little bit of drop off at the start of the next season, a bit complacent. Whereas City, who had a bit of a poor season, they want to prove straight away that they can do it. And then to go with what we were saying about. That they're a bit older. I think their average age is pretty high. They have bought young this summer. So Sterling, and then is it Patrick Roberts is that his name? Roberts from Fulham. Yeah. So whether he'll get a game or not, Fabian Delph's a bit younger, mid-20s. So they're trying to address it, I guess. But whether those players, other than Sterling, will get a kick, I don't know.
Would you think to yourself, this side are going to challenge, or do you think this side are going to find it tough to stay in the top 2, maybe even top 4?
Simply because I think they can push Chelsea simply because a lot of as we were saying, a lot of the calls that they'd kind of lost their energy. They needed a complete clear out of the midfield. Clearly isn't true. These players have got a lot to give this season. So absolutely, yeah, they really impressed me with the power.
Barnaby, would you agree?
I think the key is keeping Aguero fit. If they keep Aguero fit for the season, he'll score 35 goals, and a team with a player who scores 35 goals very, very rarely doesn't challenge, I'd say. So.
Despite the Community Shield win, Arsenal weren't prepared for the start of the season, it would appear. Barnaby, Spurs fan, I'm coming to you first. You must have enjoyed this very much so. Although West Ham are rivals as well.
Yeah, it was very difficult over pre-season when Arsenal won the pre-season treble. I'm not going to go with they weren't prepared. I just think West Ham played very well. I watched the game and was very impressed. Payet or Payet or whatever, he looks like a real find. Very much hoping that he has a severe attitude problem that means during the winter he won't fancy it, because otherwise it looks to me like they've bought one of the best players they've had in a long time. And Arsenal just couldn't find a way around the diamond formation that Slaven Bilic set up. And what I'd say about Bilic, as we know from when he managed Croatia and knocked England out and lost Steve McLaren his job, is he sets up a great team. He knows how to organise a team and motivate them. And I thought they were excellent.
Were they out-Bilic'd? I mean, when he was in charge of the Turkish side, they went to Arsenal and they were very close to doing a job in them in the preliminary stages of the Champions League. Yeah,
I thought Arsenal had no joy through the middle. I thought there were too many of them in the middle and there was nothing offered. There was space wide, which wasn't taken advantage of. And Giroud, he was dropping out of the penalty area, coming in for the ball, things like that, which is always a bad sign, I think.
Better check. Could have done better with the 2 goals, and I think that's perhaps was the most striking thing about this, that this was a player who Arsenal fans were almost... sticking 2 fingers up to Chelsea fans, thinking, we've got perhaps your best goalkeeper. Yes, and then he was at the centre of it. They weren't howlers, of course.
Czech Saguna, I think, is the job.
There you go. But, I mean, Do you look at and do you think, you know, same old Arsenal? They've struggled at home against the side they should be beating. Will it be the same old season where they perhaps finish third or fourth?
Well, I think it's important. A few things. I think it's important not to forget that when Arsenal lost their first league game at home to Villa a couple of years ago, and it all went massively viral, and all the Arsenal fan TV stuff went huge, and all the fans were completely weird. They then went on a run and won about 10 games on the spin.
True. Yeah.
So it's quite possible that will happen again. I'm not suggesting I want that to happen again, but it's quite possible. Also, what I'd say is, and not a lot of people know this, I am a fully paid up member of the Goalkeepers Union. I used to be a goalkeeper myself.
Good man. Okay.
And so what I would say is, Cech didn't cover himself in glory, especially with the first goal. He made a decision. It turned out to be the wrong decision, but you've only got a millisecond to make that decision. Second one came through legs. Like any shot that comes through legs, you're struggling because you don't get to see it. Yeah, but it's different. It's not at its near post from like an acute angle. It's at a near post where the guy's having a shot. You're thinking from there as a goalkeeper, well, he's probably going to try and bend it round me to my left.
And he shot quickly.
And it comes right. And if someone takes the shot quickly and it comes through somebody's legs, you don't see it until it's halfway to you.
But what about the Arsenal? The Arsenal front line couldn't break down West Ham. Now they defended very, very well. They put men behind the ball. But still, Arsenal didn't really have any meaningful chances. And do you think that they need to sign another striker, like a Benzema? I mean, I know it's easier said than done, and the transfer window is shrinking by the hour.
If you speak to Arsenal fans, they'll tell you. I think Giroud is they consider one of the most underrated players they've got.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's got class. He's can score great goals. But
he's a bit of a flat track bully, though, isn't he? He scores a lot of goals against kind of lesser.
So he racks them up against the second half.
But I don't remember. I could be wrong. But I don't remember a time where everyone's like, well, he can really pull it, make it happen on the big stage at the right time, Champions League or the big Premier League games.
It's also, can he guarantee you the 20-25 goals a season thing, isn't it? Is he the kind of your ruthless kind of target man?
Swansea could surprise a lot of people this season. They were brilliant last season, of course, a record points tally for Gary Monk's men, and they've started well this time round. A 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge after Chelsea went down to 10 men. They may well have gone on and won it. They didn't, though. But they were excellent. I mean, Courtois getting sent off was a little bit of a factor, but even so, despite Mourinho saying that they didn't have any chances against 11 men, that wasn't true because they'd already scored a goal by then. How impressed were you with Swansea?
Well, I've always liked to think of Swansea as the Tottenham Hotspur of Wales. Very impressed with them. Last 6, 7, 8 years, they've got a plan which doesn't just involve one manager. It's the entire ethos of the club. So, managers come and go, and they still play it out from the back, and they still play good stuff, and they still buy the right kind of players for them. Players who probably realistically they know they're going to improve and then move on.
Just like Spurs.
And then potentially move back, like Gylfi Sigurdsson after he came to Spurs. I was very impressed from what I saw of their 2-2 draw with Chelsea. They've got some good players. Ayew was rumoured to be coming to Spurs, but I guess we didn't fancy him quite in the end.
Well, he heard that there was another side, the Spurs of Wales. He thought, I'll go for them.
He was like, well, if I can't go to the Spurs of England, where can I go?
Exactly.
So I went to the Spurs of Wales. He looks a good player, good signing, and Gomez is a big handful, and Sigurdsson pulling the strings. And you were saying just before, Jonjo Shelvey, he does always look like he's a good player to me. And they've got good talent. And they won't be struggling this year, that's for sure. They'll be kind of top 8, I would have thought. Yeah,
and they've got a very good team spirit there, Patrick. And Jonjo Shelvey, what I love about Shelvey is, in a good way, he just seems to have a bit of a disregard or disrespect for the opposition.
I think Jonjo Shelvey is a remarkably underrated player.
Still only 23.
Yeah, and he's kind of, it was sort of seen as a bit of a joke at Liverpool.
What about Chelsea then? Did you think that Swansea matched them, or did you think that for the minute or two that Chelsea were down to 9 men, like Mourinho was going on about, that was the reason why Chelsea didn't win the game?
I thought Swansea, when they were given space and chances by Chelsea, they took it. I thought Ayew's goal was class. That sort of furious drag back, so will to win, never say die. I was really, really impressed.
Really composed.
I thought obviously that the 2-2, the penalty, changed the game. I do think it was a red card. I don't think it was a penalty.
But Swansea though, they went to Stamford Bridge. They didn't look phased, and you could see them doing that throughout the season. I mean, they're obviously not going to be challenging for the title. I mean, very, very, very few teams are, but you can see them going to teams and going toe to toe. I mean, it would be difficult with perhaps a smaller squad and whatnot when the season starts to really drag on a bit. But what do you expect for Swansea? Be top 8, do you think?
I was going to say pretty much exactly what you just said. Is the key will be, can they keep those players fit? You know, and if they can keep those players fit, then they'll give anyone a game. It'll be more difficult for them. It sounds weird, but sometimes at home against teams who are going to come to them and try and play 10 behind the ball. But whereas against Chelsea, you know, it allows them to play their passing game and to actually make chances for themselves. But I think, yeah, top 8, I really do. They may well push for that kind of fifth, sixth place, but they'd have to keep that squad because fit, because they've not got that deeper squad.
Yeah.
And if you lose a couple of key players from the spine, then you're starting to really struggle at that point.
Absolutely. Well, it would be brilliant for Swansea because they're a great club who have done things the right way financially and fan-wise, and we wish them all the best. Manchester United aren't the finished article, despite their 1-0 win against the mighty Tottenham Hotspur, Barnaby. You were at the match. It wasn't a classic. Spurs played well for the first 20-25 minutes. But when you come away, did you think that Manchester United side will grow and gel and perhaps challenge for the title? Or do you think, well, if I was a Manchester United fan, I'd be a little bit worried?
I thought they were poor. I did. And you know, it will take them time to gel some of those players. I think Depay is a great player, but he just didn't really get in on it. Rooney and him were both marshalled really well by Alderweireld and Vertonghen. They didn't really make Michel Vorm make a save. And it looked a little bit slow, you know, and it's been talked about, but I thought this at the time. You know, United of old under Ferguson, it was quick, and you were struggling to keep up with the pace of it.
Devastating on the counter.
Right, and there's none of that. There's none of that now, and yeah, it was a disappointing result, obviously, but also because I really genuinely think if we'd scored one of those chances, we made about 4 chances in the first 25 minutes, if we'd scored one of them, they would have struggled to get back in it, because they didn't have anything on the bench really that made me think, well, that's going to change it as well. Schweinsteiger got an incredible ovation, but for me, I would be worried if I were a United fan, having spent, what did they spend on, 15 million quid on a 32-year-old with whose legs have gone? I mean, I don't know. He did fine when he came on, you know, he gives and goes a bit, but he wasn't worrying me, and he didn't make any chances as far as I can tell.
But I mean, it's early stages, you know, it was only the first game of the season. Schweinsteiger, it's a substitute appearance in what was quite a slow and slightly lackadaisical match. But Barnaby makes the point, you know, Manchester United was slow. Last season, they just about got 4th place. Louis van Gaal traditionally starts slowly and then brings it round with a vengeance. We saw that at Bayern and Barcelona. It's now his 2nd season. The first game of the season is not too inspiring. Do you have full faith in the Dutchman to bring it right back round and he'll be challenging Chelsea? Or do you think his position might become a little bit tricky? I don't think he'll be sacked. But come, say, December, if Manchester United are not firing on all cylinders, you think you've spent an awful lot of money. Come on, pal.
I don't think he'll be going at Christmas, but I do think he has to win a trophy this season. Absolutely. Even in a minimum like FA Cup or something like that, I think. I think it was quite a stuttering game because Schneiderlin actually had a very, very good game in terms of sort of like dominating the midfield. But I thought Kane as well looked very, very industrious. Lots of huffing and puffing.
He did, but he can do. He's usually a lot more dynamic than that. Even they all looked tired. We had played on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and I didn't want to use it as an excuse. And I'm not saying that's why we lost the game, but Bentaleb is the perfect example. Who, you know, my favourite player, but I've never seen someone. He was so tired and gave the ball away 4 or 5 times, and I never see him do that.
I want to ask you that the Pochettino Spurs haven't scored against Manchester United in 3 meetings. Does that sort of stat slightly concern you? I mean, okay, that's Manchester United specifically. I mean, they scored 5 against Chelsea, so obviously you can usher this in whichever direction that you want. But do you think Spurs may struggle to score against the bigger sides?
No, I wouldn't say that. I don't think that. I think the Chelsea example is one, and we scored 2 against Arsenal last season. But also at home against United last season, we absolutely dominated them and should have killed them off. It was 0-0, but we should have scored 2 or 3. I think we will sign potentially 2 or 3 more attacking players before deadline, and I think it's just a matter of, you know, everybody kind of gelling together. I think it'll be absolutely fine.
What do you think of Berahino as a compliment to Kane? Do you think
well, they've complemented each other really well for the under-21s for a while now, and I think it would be a good signing because he can play there if Kane's injured, but also he can play in the 3 behind. And I was watching last night. the City and West Brom game, and he was making some good runs. He didn't look fully focused to me. I do wonder if there are some bids going in there.
Liverpool have improved quite remarkably from last season. They got the same amount of goals at the Britannia against Stoke, but they didn't concede this time, Patrick, did they?
No, they didn't concede.
My goodness, they've tightened up that defence there. And it was a boring game. I mean, they ground out 1-0, but a moment of inspiration from Coutinho won them the match.
It was, yeah. Apparently, Rodgers was going to take him off, but he's probably very pleased he didn't. I quite enjoyed how rampant Glenn Johnson was down the right flank.
Really?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, for Stoke. Yeah, he was getting up in their grill, which I thought was, I don't know, proved the point, because they basically got rid of him, didn't they? Because he was hefty weight on their wage bill.
Right. But, he hasn't been in their team for a while.
Yeah, probably because he used to maraud far too much. So maybe it did kind of prove their point, and he did miss a chance, you know.
And they've got Jordan Ibe now. Jordan Ibe is their great hope, isn't he? I think Liverpool have made some good signings, but you know, Rodgers has made a rod for his own back. Really, I think he needed to win against Stoke. I thought they needed that because the pressure would have really been on if they hadn't. And you know, he's allowed. I don't know what happened, but his backroom staff all lost their jobs. And you know, it seems to me like if that was his decision to let his backroom staff go, then he's trying to blame someone else. And if it was John Henry saying you've got to make a change, then he's pandering to the chairman a little too much, I think. So it seems like he's in a difficult place. They need to go on a great run from the start, I think. Maybe they can. I don't know. I think they've got a hard run of fixtures from what I've heard.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure looking at you. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Well done, pal. Barnaby, pleasure as always, my good man. Check out Barnaby on Spurredon TV. What's coming up on Spurredon TV?
Well, we've got lots of fun stuff coming up with Deadline Day coming. We're going to do some topical little bits of fun for that. And just in general, we're just waiting for when Daniel Levy opens his checkbook for the first time in over a month now. We just want to get some of those attacking players in, and we will be doing daily updates on the chances of that.
I like the bit you do with Reece as well. It's very funny.
Reece James, a very, very funny comedian and lovely, lovely Spurs fan.
There we are. No cobwebs on that checkbook for Daniel Levy, certainly. Thank you very much for watching. Do get your comments in below. We'll see you soon.